Season 2 of Saul Ball is about set to start. Hi everybody, I'm Russ Eisenstein, the voice of the Ohio Bobcats. Welcome inside the ready room, inside the locker room, inside the Convocation Center in Athens, joined by second-year head coach Saul Philips. Let's get into it, but first let's talk about the prevailing emotions from last year into this year. 10 wins overall, 5 in MAC play. What emotions strike you when thinking about last season into this season?
It's springtime in Athens. We begin anew. I'm like Troy Aikman in that commercial. I don't dwell in the past. I would say the influx of people that we've brought in, the returners that we have. Listen, we've got to turn the page. Last year didn't go as we had hoped, but we've got a chance to do something very positive moving forward. And I view this as a job, as a school, where if you put into place your plan and you execute that plan, the results will come. I think we've got that kind of infrastructure here. So it's year 2, and despite our lack of productivity in the win column, we got a lot of foundations set in terms of the direction we're heading, not the least of which are 2 transfers that were in our program last year, working diligently all last year, who are poised to take the court for us this year and do some good things.
Standard question when talking about the preseason poll. You're picked 3rd in the MAC East. Antonio Campbell is a all-MAC East selection. Does that strike you positively, negatively, or are you indifferent about the whole deal?
Extremely indifferent, because I don't know where we're going to be.
Right.
I have no idea. At days in practice, I think to myself, we're on to something, but on some days in practice, you sit there and say, we've got a ways to go. We got a lot of young people out there. I know this, that I've always been in love with the process. I've always been in love with trying to get a group better day after day after day. And I know with the way that this group listens, the way that they come to practice every day with energy, that improvement will come. Where our baseline starting point is, I don't think any of us will really know that until we hit the floor against Florida Gulf Coast.
Antonio Campbell averaged 10 and 8 last year. He's one of the few that you have as holdovers, carryovers to this season. He and Treg Setti and Mike Laster, too. What do you expect out of that trio, but talking about Tone first?
Tone, first of all, has had a really good summer. He's moving really, really well. His soft hands, soft touch around the rim. You heard it, 10 and 8, and that's playing alongside a guy that got a lot of rebounds himself in Maurice Endor. Tony is on the verge of a double-double every time he steps on the court. But where he's gotten better is his movement. He moves better on ball screens. He moves better with the ball in his hands. He's always been tremendously gifted with finishing, and that's obviously stayed with him. But he's going to have a good season. There's no question about that. I'm really looking forward to seeing what his upside is, because I think we're just seeing the beginning of it right here. I think he's going to grow and grow and grow. Treg's an interesting story. Treg's a kid that he could have graduated this summer and been done. I've told him, you're here because you want to be treated accordingly. He's a kid that should be playing with the greatest joy in the world because he doesn't have a lot of academic pressure on him. He's playing basketball for a year, finishing up a degree, which he's well on his way to doing. That changes your perspective a little bit. And he's had a very strong offseason. He worked harder this offseason than he's worked in his life at the game of basketball. And Mike Laster has made huge strides in terms of body control, in terms of strength. He's kind of a whirling dervish around the basket with his finishes. And Mike is a kid that is so steady emotionally day to day to day. And at times, I think we've lacked emotional stability in our locker room since I've been here. I think we've got some pretty good foundations to work around that way.
So you have 2 players that went through an entire season in your system but didn't see the floor. And we're all excited to see Houston transfer Deron Simmons and Kenny Kaminsky from Michigan State. How do those 2 players make you better in your system?
Deron is an elite point guard in this league. He's won everywhere he's been. He's a constant voice. He's the same guy every day. He makes great decisions with the ball. He makes people around him better. having Duran on the floor makes Mike Laster better. Having Duran on the floor makes Tony better. I've always put a heavy premium on point guard play. I don't know many programs that don't, honestly. It's like not having a quarterback. It's
kind of a must.
Yes, you better have one. And Duran is an elite point guard.
It is rare in year two that you have as big of an imprint on a program as you have already. And we talked about this in year two for Jim Christian when he was here. And you have it too with the 2 transfers in your system for a year and then 6 freshmen. What can you expect from them and how much do you need from them?
We need something.
Yeah.
There's no question. Otherwise, we're playing with 5 guys. We'll get something out of them. They'll give what they can. I know what they are long term, and that's all very good prospects for helping this program. That doesn't do as much good when we play November 12th, I believe it is, against Florida Gulf Coast. Some are ahead of others physically. Some are ahead of others basketball-wise. But yeah, there will be where we get this year probably doesn't rely as much on Duran, Kenny, and Tony as it does between as positions 3 through 10 or 4 through 10 affect you, and that includes a lot of freshmen and some returners. So honing in on a rotation is something that we got to do very soon here. I've got some ideas, but those are all theories until we get out against other programs and play. The matchups that we see day in and day out in practice aren't always what you're going to see when the lights come on and you're in front of other people.
What was interesting about last year too, and comparisons between this year and last year are going to be somewhat futile as we move forward, but ironing out the highs and lows. You had runs last year where you looked like you were the best team in the league. And then there were other runs where on the floor you looked like you were one of the worst teams in the league at times. So how do those emotions iron out? How do those highs and lows iron out? Is it just simply another year in the system?
I believe in a steady approach. I believe in doing things over the course of time. Changing a team isn't a matter of coming in and saying we're doing this different, this different, this different, bam, let's go. It's more of an erosion. It's steady. It's over time. And to think that people that have been in the program 4 months are going to get that right away, that's foolishness. That's not going to happen.
Right.
But when those lows do occur, maybe try to pick them back up a little bit. When those highs do occur where you have a great moment, maybe we don't want to have the champagne on ice in the locker room after
game one.
after a 5-point non-conference win. Let's steady it out and let's make our focus on getting better and not get too caught up in the process right away.
Scheduling philosophy is a long-term sort of deal. You're in year 2 here with the players that you have and with the setup of this season. What was your philosophy in orchestrating the schedule?
Well, first of all, with a young group, try to be at home as much as we could. We had the constraints of playing in the Virgin Islands. I say constraints, it's a tough assignment.
That's really hard.
Yeah, we had the constraints of playing in the Virgin Island tournament. And given that, we knew that there's the potential of playing 3 top 100 teams in that. Okay, now we've got to get home games. Not only MAC mandate, but my mandate. We have to get home games because we need to get this group together at home. It's a schedule that fits where we're at right now. I've had schedules that were much more aggressive than this one, and I've had schedules that were similar to this one. But it's a nice balance when you take into account programs like Florida Gulf Coast, programs like St. Bonaventure, programs like the ones that are in the Virgin Islands tournament. There's a nice balance there of really kind of pushing ourselves pretty hard and yet still getting those home games.
Finally, and perhaps most importantly out of all of this, we talked about it, our fans certainly know about it, but it was a trying summer for you, but ultimately a victorious summer for you and your family, your wife dealing with cancer, and she is cancer-free. Talk about, we could talk for hours about it, and obviously.
Are you trying to get me to cry right
No,
now?
no.
This is a Roy Firestone thing. I'm not with it.
No. I think it's a good time to update our fans and friends out there that your wife is doing well and all is well in the Phillips household.
In all seriousness, it was a very, very trying summer after a fairly trying season. And if we're trying to stay level, I think we've used up a lot of the emotion in the emotion tank. Let's just go ahead and say it what it is. My wife was diagnosed with cancer in May. They caught it early. Get your mammograms, everybody. It saves lives. And she was diagnosed on her birthday, and she was given the all clear sign on her anniversary. So she had a flair for the dramatic in that. 93% chance it won't be coming back. I'll take those odds, given what we went through. It was a summer of big boy meetings with oncologists, and it scared us. It put a real scare into us. But we've come through it, and as a true coach's wife, she was diagnosed and wrapped it up all within the off season, which is very nice of her.
Very good.
But I'm thankful to report that on the home front, the family front, we're doing very, very well. And it has certainly given me perspective on what we're doing, what we're getting done. I can't tell you the amount of energy and passion I'm able to throw toward basketball because I'm just so happy to be dealing with that and not the health of someone that I love very much. So it was an off season that I wouldn't prescribe for everybody, but as in anything, you've got to learn from it. You've got to move forward. And to be honest with you, my wife did most of the work. She was the one beating cancer. I stood there and played very average nurse for most of the process.
Well, congratulations to her and to you. Look forward to covering your ball club this year. Should be a lot of fun.
It's going to be fun, and we're going to grow, and we're going to get better, and we're going to get some good things done. I can't put a number on the number of wins we're going to get, but everything you see moving forward is going to be this program moving forward, and I promise the fans that, and I promise my players that, I promise my staff that, and I even promise my wife and kids that. We're moving forward.
A lot of promises, and we promise that it will be a lot of fun on the Ohio IMG Sports Network and Bobcat TV. For the entire Bobcat TV crew, for the coach Saul Philips, I'm Russ Eisenstein, and yes, this is Bobcat TV.